God is requiring us who represent Him to work our jobs, clock into your job and enter the building and put on your vest or walk in your uniform, and He's expecting you to show up on time at the bare minimum, early if you could do it, and everything you do it as unto the Lord. So that even in a secular setting, when you are showing up to do said job, that you are getting paid for. You're not there doing charity work, and you're not there just to do stuff because you're bored. You're there because you have bills to pay and you need a job, and hopefully the job that you have, you at least enjoy it enough to keep going. Now, obviously, jobs are jobs, and there's always aspects of anyone's job, no matter how much you love it, that aggravates you, frustrates you. You wish it wasn't so. You wish it wasn't like that. And there are things that you cannot control that therefore you just have to learn to live with and work around. And then there are things that you can control, and those are the things that God expects you to work on. And so tonight we're going to jump into elements of a growth environment, and it's going to look like some of this stuff. We get into these fill in the blanks, and you're thinking, what does this have to do with Jesus? Everything. Has everything to do with Jesus, because the principles that we live by, that we are supposed to be shining as a light in darkness, we are supposed to be the ones on this planet that are pursuing God, and if you pursue Him, you're going to grow. He said, I don't want you just to be fruitful. Like, I don't want you just to produce a little bit of fruit. I want you to be fruitful, full. I want you to produce much. He said much fruit. That's what Jesus said. I want you to produce much fruit. So anything you do, you should do it to the best of your ability. You should do it with excellence. And in order for you to keep doing things better and better and better, it takes growth. You have to grow. And so there are elements of a growth environment that we are going to cover tonight. There will be 10 towards the end. We will move through them. But to set us up for that, growth thrives in conducive surroundings. Growth thrives in conducive surroundings. Now, there comes a point in everyone's life where there is a need to change environments in order to grow. Now, we're not talking about divorce. We're not talking about just getting separated and everybody living in separate houses because you need a change in an environment. Environment involves more than just a place. And what I'm going to teach you tonight is that environment can actually include your mindset, how you think, your attitude, your emotions, how you behave, how you talk to people, things you say, things you shouldn't say, on and on and on. There is environments that are created when people are present. If you've ever walked into a hostile environment, nobody has to say a word, but you know. Ooh-wee. Whew. You ever heard the saying, you can cut the tension with a knife? It's almost letting you visualize the tension in that room is so thick and real. If I had a knife right now, I could show you a slice of this tension. because environments are not just places. Sometimes it's the presence, the atmosphere, the emotion, what's going on. You can feel it. Don't know what all's happened, but you know something happened because you can feel it. And so the definition of environment is the combination of surrounding things, conditions, or influences. It is the combination of surrounding things, conditions, or influences. Again, conditions there would be what was it that created that hostile environment? What had happened? What were the conditions? Somebody showed up late for the 12th time. Everybody else on the job that's there working on time, they're suffering because the other person is a part of the assembly line. And when that person is not there in their place doing their job, it puts more pressure and work on the others. Right. That makes sense? Okay, if you are supposed to, if you have a function and everything kind of hinges off of you being there first, and then the second, then shows up, then the third one, and if the fourth person isn't there, but everybody else is, there's going to be a problem. Right. The conditions have not been met. Right. So that environment now is going to be a little off. Influences. There's your mindset, how you think, influences, what you're listening to, who you're hanging with, what books you're reading, what podcasts you listen to, what radio stations you're listening to on the way to work, to get you so fired up that by the time you've gotten 15 minutes down the road, you're ready to kill everybody, and you don't even know why, except, well, they've just been saying it's getting bad, it's getting bad, it's getting bad. You try to explain what's getting bad, you don't even know what's getting bad. You just heard it's getting bad, now you're mad. It's getting bad. Why are you mad? I don't know, because it's getting bad. I feel like a cat in a hat right now. Dr. Seuss fixing to write us another book. You're so worked up about something that hadn't even happened yet. So, the influence can set the tone of the environment. Now, if we want to grow, and I capitalize the word "if" a whole lot because it's a contingent word. It's like, if you want to, if we want to grow, to reach our potential, we must be in the right environment, and that usually requires us to make changes in our life. There's going to be things you've got to change to get in the right environment. Now, remember, for the rest of this, I'm not talking about just a place. So don't keep thinking about your job, the location, your home, your marriage, your kids. You can't wait for empty nest. We're not just talking about a location. We're talking about the conditions of our surroundings, what's going on around us, the influences of what we are doing or we're not doing. If we want to grow, if we want to reach our potential, we must be in the right environment, and that usually requires us to make some changes in our life. Perhaps you've seen the phrase written like this: growth equals change. If you're going to grow, you got to change. If you don't change, you're not going to grow. Growth equals change. We've seen that. We see it played out. We've seen it in memes. You can see it in pictures and stuff and leadership type settings. But in the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, John Maxwell says, it's possible to change without growing, but it's impossible to grow without changing. One of the keys to making the right changes that allow us to grow is knowing the difference between a problem or challenge which I can change and a fact of life which I cannot. It is so important for you to figure out, can I change this or not? Is this life or is this just a bad attitude? Is this something that I'm going to have to just deal with because it's physical, It's mental, and I'm not talking about just I have a bad day. Like, it's a mental condition. Is it life? I can't change that part of me? Or is it just a problem that I need to fix? And you've got to understand which one it is so you realize whether to spend a lot of time on it trying to fix it or just accept it as a part of life, and you got to live with it. There are facts of life which cannot change. Like, for example, where and when you were born. Nobody has any choice over that. You're in the womb. You have no choice. Where and when you were born it's above your pay grade. Who your parents are, who your family is, you didn't get to choose that. You're stuck with it. Aren't you excited about that? You can't choose who your parents are. You can't choose the extended, uncles and aunts and the whole tree. You don't get to choose your height. Now, I'm saying that even though I've just read there is a new process, procedure being done where they literally stretch your legs. So where guys who wish they were, 3 or 4 inches taller can go through this procedure, and it's painful. I mean, it ain't like take a few vitamins and you're going to sprout up 3 extra inches in the next, 9 months. Like, it's a process, and it was showing a guy in the before and after, and they were showing these things they'd put on them, and oh, man. We're not talking about artificial stuff. The fact is, when you get as tall as you're going to be, that's as tall as you're going to be. It's your height. You didn't get to choose it. Your DNA. Sorry, Savannah. Sorry, Emerson. Sorry, Natalie. Your DNA, you didn't get to choose it. It's in there. And God help us when your kids get all the bad, you're just like, I'm so sorry. We apologize. If we could have spliced that one off and it died, we would have done that. But you come from a long line of ticks. There's a bunch of ticks. And there's just DNA you can't change. I'm not even talking about the DNA demons. I'm just talking about the stuff that you wish you could change. Just like, ooh, I wish I could change that. I wish I could eat a box of donuts and just never gain an ounce. My DNA don't let me do that. My DNA is I breathe it. It smells good. I can't wear my suit Sunday. Oh, God. It's bad. Your DNA is just, you can't change your DNA. What type of environment you were raised in? If you were raised to be racist, you didn't pick that. If you were raised to be negative, you didn't pick that. If you were raised to be mean, if you were raised to be a fighter, oh, we just fight. We'll fight to drop a hat. My God, you just look at me the wrong way and I'll be ready to fight. The type of environment that you were raised in. Now, you get older and you start realizing that was pretty pathetic. No wonder I need therapy all these years. You didn't pick it. You can't change it. It is what it is. Now, what you can do with some of that, and I'm getting ahead of myself, however, is that you can make some changes. Right. And you don't have to raise your kids to be racist. Right. And you don't have to raise your kids to be fighters. Right. And you don't have to raise your kids to be rebellious and whatever. You can raise your kids to love people and love God and want to do right and want to do good and be positive, because God knows there's enough negative. We don't need any more negative. Right. Some of our DNA provides enough negative in our life. We don't need any more. Now, while these facts of life cannot be changed, you can change your attitude about them. You can stop being a victim, and you can change some things about your life. Right. And you can change the trajectory of where you're going. The difference between a fact of life and a problem is that you can do something about a problem. You can grow through a problem if you choose to. If you choose to, you can grow through a problem. But you have to choose to. You have to be intentional about saying, you know what, this is a problem, but I don't have to stay here forever. It doesn't have to define me. I can learn from this. I can get through this. I can become better. And you know what? It'll be fine. But you have to choose to. The change that comes when you choose to change your attitude regarding a problem is that you open up the possibility for growth. If you'll just change your attitude about some of those things, then you're actually opening up the door of possibility that you just might be able to grow. So how to change yourself and your environment? How do I change myself? Because these people that run around saying, well, that's just who I am, it's just how I am, that's a cop-out. You hear me? Well, that's just the way it is. Nope, that's a cop-out. Well, that's just how it's always been. Well, that might be true, but you don't have to stay that way. And if you choose to stay that way, you're a coward. That's a cop-out. Just because you come from a long line of victim mentality people doesn't mean you have to become one and raise your kids to be one. Just because nobody in your family had ever gone as far as you've gone in education and in jobs and in what you make, per year, that doesn't make you special. It just means, you know what? You decided, I'm not going to just stay in this little cookie cutter mode of that's all I can ever do is be about that high right there. That's it. That's as far as I can go. People who live with that lid on themselves are totally sabotaging their potential on what they could be for God, what they could do for God, what God could do in them, for them, what they could do for the kingdom, not to mention just how much better your life would be on earth. So how to change yourself and your environment. Number one, be around great people. Be around great people. Now, you will only be as good as the people you hang around with. I cannot tell you how many times I have told people, you need to change the people you're hanging with. I cannot tell you how many times I've told young people, especially these young people who are in these schools today. My Lord, have mercy. I've lost count how many times I've said, who are you hanging with? Because your attitude stinks. I remember as a kid when, you didn't see it. Let me tell you something about your attitude. Unless it's really that bad that you're willing to admit it, most people don't see their attitude. Because they're the ones with it. But boy, everybody else can see it. And when your mom used to say, who you been hanging with? What do you mean who been hanging with? Case in point. What do you mean who been hanging with? Exactly what I said. Who? Let me say it slower for you. I know you're in public school. Who have you been hanging with? What does that matter? See, it's a dead giveaway. It's a dead giveaway. Parents know this stuff. Look, people know this stuff. Your employer knows this stuff. God knows this stuff. People you go to church with knows this stuff. Who you been hanging with? Anybody ever had, nobody look at anybody in this church right now. Anybody ever had like their kids go to someone's house and they come back and they talking different? Now they come home sounding like Brianna and I'm like, oh, Lord Jesus. I know she's been in temple. It only took 10 minutes. How y'all doing? It's either temple redneck or hood. She can't figure out what she wants. Temple red hood, I think is what she's gonna be. She's gonna be temple red hood. She don't know if she's going to be redneck or hood, so she's a red hood. And now they come home, and it won't take 10 minutes to be like, ha ha, I know who you've been hanging around. And if she says anything bad, it's just, the... Every kid who's had parents that was paying attention has been asked, who you been hanging around? Where'd you get that word from? I ain't heard of that word. Where'd you get that word from? Why is that? Because you've been hanging around some people that are rubbing off on you. Thankfully, if you would choose to hang out with great people, you know what would rub off on you? Greatness. But when you hang out with punks, you start acting like a punk. When you hang out with smart alecks, you start talking like a smart aleck. But if you hang around great people, positive people, the glass is always half full, half full. Woo! Now, some of those people, after a while, wear me out. But every now and then, everybody needs a little dose of the half full people, because they can, make the half empty or totally empty, or there ain't no more water left in the world. People, see things a little differently. But according to research by the social psychologist Dr. David McClelland of Harvard, the people with whom you habitually associate are called your reference group. And these people determine as much as 95% of your success or failure in life. 95. That's Harvard, people. That didn't come from, some little jacked up college somewhere. That's Harvard. That wasn't the school I went to, DeKalb College. Harvard, the Harvard study. 95% of whether you are a success or a failure hinges totally on the people that you're hanging with. Tell me it don't matter who you're hanging with. The best place to learn is always where others are ahead of you. Now, if you want greatness to rub off on you, then you have to get around great people. People who always want to hang around people who are behind you, you're just looking for affirmation to make yourself feel better. You're not wanting to be challenged. And you know what? You're never going to grow. If the only people you can hang with is people that are slightly lesser than you, hadn't quite gotten where you are, so it makes you feel like you are the greatness, you're probably never going to go anywhere. You have to get with people who are ahead of you. That's where you learn. You can't learn nothing from someone who's 10 steps behind you. Nothing. You ain't going to learn nothing from them. You might learn what not to do, but then you're wasting your time because you already know it, because you've watched them. You don't need them to tell you. You know they're 10 steps behind you. So the best place to learn is to get with people who are ahead of you. It's not usually comfortable, okay? It's not comfortable to get around people who they're better than you, and you know it. It's not usually comfortable, but it's always profitable to be around people larger than ourselves. Because more often than not, just being around them makes you better. When my pastor comes to town, all I have to do is ask questions, and then he answers, and I'm just better by being in the room with him. He can leave, and I feel better just because I was around him. I went and spent some time with Pastor Kinsey. I call him respectfully. He's Coach Kinsey now. And spending a day with him, and just the hours we spent together, leaving, coming home. Like I just felt better having been with him, because he he pushed in. He pointed things out. You need to do this. You need to do that. You need to read this. You need to read that. You just being around him makes you want to do more, be better. Because you know where he's at. I've seen where he's been. I know some of the stuff he's gone through, and like he just kept on going and going and going. I was like, my goodness. You need to find people that you can get around that are just better than you, so that even if you can't hear every little thing they say, just being with them makes you want to be better. Right. Just being around them makes you want to be better. What kind of people should we spend time with? I'm glad you asked. Number one, people with integrity. Don't be asking some liar, cheat, thief. What's the best way to save money? Steal it. Not give any to God. People who are positive. Now, I could take the rest of this sermon and just stay right there. People who are positive. What kind of people should we spend time with? People who are positive. What wears me down? God help me, Lord Jesus. What wears me down is trying to talk to people who are negative. Negative, 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 negative. God have mercy, negative. Everything comes out of our mouth. Negative, negative, negative. Lord have. Get a rabbit, puppy, something, whatever makes you happy. Go buy one. I'll buy you 4 of them. You just start talking positive. Now, I'm not talking icky or what Natalie would call creepy. Cringy. It's not cringy. Dad, you're cringy. You're acting cringy right now. I'm not talking cringy, but positive. When I'm telling you, man, I am so excited. Let me tell you, woo. Just because I'm a visionary, just because I told you my dream does not mean I have every single detail worked out. Don't ask me all the details that I don't know yet. Just be excited about my dream. How are you going to do it? I don't know. But just get excited about it. Fake it. Man, that's awesome. You can drive home and you can think of all the stuff that I don't know yet, and you can worry about it. I'm not worried about it. We just going to do it. We just going to do it. People who are positive. Nobody likes to hang out with negative Nancys. Right. And Nicks. That's the only, sorry, Nick. That's the first N boy name that came to my brain. Nobody likes negative Nancys and negative Nicks. Nobody likes them. Nobody wants to hang around with a bunch of negative. Listen, life, all you have to do is look at yourself in the mirror. It's negative. Nobody needs any more extra negativity in their life. We're looking for somebody to be like, I like that color on you. Man, I like them shoes. Boy, your hair looks so nice. It don't look, whatever, but you said it looks nice. Thank you. Positive. How's it going? Oh, man, I tell you what. It's just, a few times of those, and people stop asking you. When they have to sit down because you haven't stopped and it's been 14 minutes and you don't show signs of stopping, like you're just getting started. You're feeling your fourth wind. You're just like, wow. And then this happened. They're going to finally just stop asking you, how's it going? Because I don't have time to listen to that. Because now I want to go home and I want to resign. Sympathetic resignations. It's like, I'm so sorry, I'm going to resign too. God have mercy, I hate my job too. People who lift us up instead of always knocking us down. That's the kind of people you want to spend time with. Right. At least normal people. And if you're into all that, getting beat up and stuff, I mean, that's up to you. But look, life is hard enough as it is. A lot of times you're looking up to see the bottom. No one needs any more help getting kicked down. Right. Lift somebody up. For the rest of this week, find somebody in your world and really think about it and text them or call them or whatever is you're more comfortable with. Carrier, pigeon, Pony Express, whatever, snail mail, smoke signals. Say something nice to somebody. Not fake, not, woo, it? No, like genuinely, I was thinking about you and XYZ. See what it does to your world. People who are ahead of us professionally, that's who you need to be spending time with. Don't go, if you would just take, this is skin in the game. You have to invest in this. That means you have to take them out to eat. You have to buy them the coffee. But find somebody professionally on your secular job that is 2 positions above you, and you're eyeing that position because they're getting a little bit older, and you know what? You want to be ready that when they retire, you're the next one that goes in. Pick their brain and learn everything you can about how they got there. Y'all, that's not rocket science. It's just find people who are ahead of you. Lastly, not lastly, but just for my notes' sake, people who are growing. And the word, the tense there is present. They haven't grown, and like their growing days are over, bless God. I've gone as far as I can go. The rest up to y'all. No, they're still growing. Right. Not that they had a season of growth as if it's come and gone. I did good. It was 1984. I grew. And I ain't done squat since then. You want to have lunch with me? Nope. No, I don't, actually. Because you're not still growing. You're not doing anything. I want to go take somebody out to eat, have a cup of coffee with them, go spend time, go to where they live. Go to them. And sit there and ask questions. How did you get to where you are currently? And then you get to asking them about what's your next phase? What's the next step? And then watch them light up and start giving you all the dreams and visions without all the details. Because the details will come. The vision is what's going to wake you up in the morning. Exactly how it's going to happen, that just bogs visionaries down. We just want to dream. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. And while we're dreaming, we'll work on it, and God will give us direction. But if you have to go into everything with so many details that you lose your passion, you're probably never going to do it. Because eventually you're going to talk yourself out of the dream. It is imperative that you think long and hard about who you spend the most time with. For whatever direction they are headed, so are you. It is imperative that you think long and hard about who you spend the most time with. For whatever direction they are headed, so are you. Number 2, visit great places. Now, I'm not talking about Paris and Italy, even though for those who enjoy expeditions and journeyings and sightseeing and all that other stuff, that is not me. I can look at it on Google and I'm perfectly fine. Been there, great. I can taste the food from the picture. It looks, man, I just gained 10 pounds looking at it. Okay, so I'm not talking about expeditions and travel, but visit great places as in visit places that have grown and more importantly, that are still growing so you can observe what they are doing. For example, we came back home from Pensacola Friday night and we were sitting on the couch. Had my ice bottle, had Ruby, who was trying to work herself out of her depression. We were only going like 32 hours, and she acted like we'd left her for 3 months. Didn't eat, She was on, what do you call that when they don't eat, starve? When they're in jail, prison, and they... Hunger strike, right? Yeah, they were on a hunger strike. Roscoe's been on hunger strike for about 3 months. I think he's getting ready to meet Jesus, but anyway. That poor dude's so depressed. I don't know, whatever. I'm like, Lord, take him. Take him. We were sitting on the couch and we got to looking at our schedule, and we had just gotten home from my first trip to Pensacola for my coaching, and I'm pumped, man. Whew. There's a reason why I didn't call anybody, because I didn't want anybody to ruin my mood. I didn't thought anybody didn't have to, because I was just, oh man. I guess that's what drug addicts feel like. We're on a high. I was on a high, man. I was just like, woo-hoo! Sky's the limit. We're going to have revival. My God, it's going to be so good. And I'm sitting on that couch, and Emerson, I think he came across The Movement. It's a conference happening at FAC Maryville. And we got to looking at the dates, and it hit in with, we can't go to everything. We got to kind of like pick and choose what we're going to go to. And it was like, go to a conference where we're going to have good church. I have good church on Wednesday night. Or go somewhere where we can be challenged and learn and be pushed and see what that small, tiny, already paid for, they don't owe any debt, church is doing. How they did it. Right. I don't have church all the time. We need to go. So I just bought hotel rooms and registered. I'm going to Maryville. What's he going to do? I'm going to learn. 48 years old, I'm going to learn. Right. Been pastoring 11 years, I'm going to learn. Well, this church, 11 years. The other one's almost 20. 19 years I've been pastoring. My God. Some people didn't think I'd make it in 9 minutes. Some wish I hadn't made it 9 minutes. Certainly 19 years. And here we are. And I'm like, you know what? We're going to go to FAC Maryville. We're going to register for we ain't calling up and say, hey, we're a small little struggling church out here in Ackworth. Do y'all have any discounts? No, we're registering. It sends me this little thing. Do you want to be a part of the pre-conference 3-hour leadership and team building session? I'm like, man, yeah. Do I want to be a part of it? Have y'all looked at y'all's church from our eyes lately? I think I want to be a part of that. 48 years old, registering to go listen to people tell us how to do it. Why you do that? Because I want to get around great people and go to great places and see what they have done, what they are doing, and then hear them talk about, oh, we ain't done. You listen to Bishop Joel Holmes tonight, and that's another church, First Pentecostal Church, Little Rock, North Little Rock, little small church off the interstate, little bitty struggling daughter work of ours, it's just this little struggling. And you listen to him, and right now, bless God, we got that 1,000 acres across the interstate over there. We're just going to probably build us a bridge, and we're just going to build us another life center, a gym, maybe a hotel, prayer rooms, a bomb shelter. We're just going to pray. All the time talking about what they're doing next. Most of us would have hung our hat on the second building and said, I'm just going to start writing books from here on out. Y'all just do what I tell you. They didn't stop. They kept pushing, kept growing. They're in a building. You could fit our whole building in the men's bathroom, probably 4 of their stalls. And our church would fit right in the middle of it. If you ain't ever been there, you need to go. It's massive. It's huge. I'm taking my kids there. They've never been. They're going. We're going. And they're going to see. This is what vision and prayer will produce if you want to grow. That's right. But you have to get around great people, and you have to visit great places. Calvary Tabernacle, Indiana, IBC. Pastor Josh Carson has taken that church, flipped it on its head. It had a reputation for a while of kind of being, it was a staple in the movement. It's an icon. Pastor Mooney, he was older. He had gotten sick. Things happen, and you can't push like you used to push. Well, the succession from when Brother Carson took it from Brother Mooney. Brother Carson went in there, just started throwing grenades. He didn't wait 7 years. He was like a bull in a china closet. He was like, we're going to have revival. We're going to fill this place up. We're going to build something else. Come hell or high water. Are you with me? Shout yeah. They're like, yeah. They remodeled that building. It looks incredible. Unbelievable. Vision. You hear Josh Carson talk tonight, he's going to be talking about, let me tell you what we're working on now. See, some people think I'm just crazy. I'm not crazy. I get around great people. And I go to great places, and I start realizing, I'm not the only one that does this. Wait a minute. Them cats are always talking about what they going to do. Well, how are you going to do it? I know there's people in their life that ask them that, but you know what they've gotten in place? And I'm working on it. They're called blockers. They block me from people like that. I don't have time to hear that. I don't have time to hear that. I don't have time to hear that. If you ain't got something positive and you're not like, man, let's do it, I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. Positive. If you just go to some of the places I've been, you might come back with like, my God. Y'all doing the same thing? Yeah, it's different scales, but it's the same talk. Woo, I feel good. Ask questions. Look, when you get to where that place is and you get around great people, ask questions. Find out how they got to where they are. I promise you, I do way better in a very small setting. The older I've gotten, I'm just better in a small setting. When I get in one of those large settings like that, I tend to kind of back up and I'll observe, I'll listen. But if when I'm ready to know something, I'll get in a small setting. I'll go on an off time when there ain't 47 other pastors there. I'll pay for it. I'll get there. I'll take care of them and their meals and their Starbucks and wherever else we go. And because I want them to know I'm valuing their time. And boy, I'm going to ask questions. And when I go, I have questions written down. I'm not sitting there hoping I come up with something. And some of y'all have talked to people, and I've told you, do not walk in that room without a pad and a pen and questions already on it. I sat down with Coach Kinsey in his office, and he sat down. He got comfortable, and he just sat there and stared at me for a second. And I was like, okay, I know what he's doing. I started asking questions. That's what he was waiting on. You came to me. I didn't come to see you. You came to see me. What do you need from me? Does a doctor come to your house? Now, they used to. But they don't do that anymore. Matter of fact, they can only give you about 20 minutes. And they're usually an hour late on that. Right? But you go see them. So when they walk in, it's like, what can I do for you? They're not walking in like, I'll tell you what, how about them brains? Boy, I tell you, man, ain't that weather outside good? Hey, what you eating for lunch today? I'm going to tell you what I had yesterday. They don't have time for that. Right. You came to see them. What do you need from me? Right. Ask questions. Right. You want to know how they got to where they are? You got to ask them. Right. Well, I just don't know if I can do that. Well, then you're never going to grow. Number 3, read great books. Read great books. It's been said that you're only as good as your last book. I didn't put this in the notes, but here, I'll help some people that don't like reading books. Listen to great podcasts. Listen to great books. The books that I talk about reading, if you're just like, man, I'd rather hear it if I can hear it. I can't. Just hearing it, blah, 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 I start thinking, wondering, and I have to rewind. I sent a podcast out to a few people that I wanted to hear what they were saying, and I didn't on purpose write the notes because I was busy doing something else. But boy, I stopped it and went back a few times. My God, wait a minute. I'm going to go back now and write some notes because it's that good. But listening is hard for me to just focus. I need to read it. If I can read it, woohoo, I will highlight, earmark, mark, pen, take notes, flag, ribbons, whatever I got to do. But I'm going to read. Listen to good podcasts. Listen to things that are going to challenge you. Don't listen to easy stuff. That's why if people read fiction, and I get it, I'm not preaching against it. I'm not saying it's like, going to send you to hell or nothing. I don't have time for it. I don't have time for fiction. I'm trying to learn something. So, my wife could take a book and read it in 2 hours, front to back, and have ordered the rest of the series, and it'll be here in a couple of days. I'm not that fast. Nowhere near that fast. But she'll read that book, and she'll read it about 10 more times because they'll pass it around the family. I'm going to read that book one time, and it's going to have so many colors on it. I know right where I'm at, and I can just go back and refer to it. But you got to read. Read great books. Number 4, attend great events. Attend great events. Register and attend special events and conferences that will offer you opportunities to learn, be challenged to change, and encourage you to grow. That's why we're going to the movement, because we want to learn. We want to be challenged to change. We are interested in growing. Attend great event. Get some skin in the game. Right. I'm going to say this because this is a part of transition. The days are coming to an end where pastor can pay everybody's way to go to conferences. Because if I keep paying for everything in this church, we're never going to have capital to do anything beyond where we are right now. Because we can definitely afford this if we just stay here at the size we are. We're okay. But if we ever want to branch out and grow, it's going to cost a lot more money per month than what we are paying in this location. Okay? So the days of me just paying for 20 people to go to Peak and let's all go together because we're just one big happy family, those days are screeching to a halt. You know what that means? If you want to grow, you're going to do what you got to do to get there. You're going to sell donuts. You're going to wash cars. Oh, I know it ain't fun. There ain't nothing fun about fundraising. It's the stupidest word they could have ever used for that job. Fundraising. Ain't nothing fun about it. I know there's a D there, everybody. There's like, he ain't spelling that thing right. I'm spelling it like Brianna does. Fundraiser. Ephesians 4, 11 through 12, King James Version. And he gave some apostles and some prophets and some evangelists and some pastors and teachers for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body of Christ. He gave the fivefold ministry for the perfecting of the saints, for the work of the ministry, for the edifying of the body. New Living Translation. Now these are the gifts Christ gave to the church, the apostles, the prophets, the evangelists, the pastors and teachers. Their responsibility is to equip God's people to do his work and build up the church. My responsibility, according to the scriptures, is to equip the people of God to do the work of God. The calling of the pastor is to equip the saints. It is my responsibility to create a positive growth environment. Right. It is mine. It's my responsibility to create A positive growth environment. So let's look at 10 elements of a growth environment. Number one, a growth environment is a place where others are ahead of me. Others are ahead of me. If Hudson's going to be a YouTuber, he better find some YouTubers to get with that are ahead of him. Not fellow YouTubers in the church that don't know any more than you do. They're not going to help you, buddy. Surround yourself with people who are better than you. Surround yourself with people who are better than you. Do not be so proud or sensitive, easily offended, whatever the case may be, where you are not willing to get around people who are better than you because, well, it exposes your insecurities and your weaknesses, and you don't have it all together, and you're not as perfect as you want everybody to think you are. I promise you, everybody knows you're not as perfect as you think you are. Everybody. Growth environment is a place where others are ahead of me. Number two, a growth environment is a place where you are continually challenged. You are continually challenged. I've often used this principle in one particular way, and I'm going to use it to show you it's the same principle. The style of preaching that I do, which is very aggressive, it pushes in, it almost demands a response, which is biblical. It makes people feel uncomfortable because they are being challenged. The people who have often had problems with being challenged are the people who just don't want to grow. They want you to leave them alone because they don't want to do more. They're already giving you as much as they're going to give you, so bless God. Take it, love it, like it, don't like it, but don't be pushing on me. The problem is if there was never any challenging in your life, you would never get better. You would be stuck in the rut that you're in, which is why it's being preached, and you would never get out of that rut. So then you have the flip side of that who say, man, how have you done that? We come preach at your church, and those people are throwing babies, chairs. They don't have tambourines, but they're like, doing it with their tongue. Like, what is going on around there? They're always challenged. We don't let them just not do anything. We're going to push in. When they don't like it, we're going to push in. And you know what happens is the pushing in produces what other people like. They like the result of good church. Do you know the only people who don't like it are the ones who just don't want to do it? That makes sense? So a growth environment is a place where you are continually challenged. Number three, a growth environment is a place where my focus is forward. My focus is forward. Your best days are in front of you. I got some good news for some people who are under 70, and really if you're under 50. If you're under 50, Coach Kinsey told me, and I'm not going to go in everything he told me on recording because I don't want it to get misconstrued and people take it out of context and be goofy with it. But so between 50 and 70 is your prime years. He said you actually will accomplish more between 50 and 70 than you ever have before. Now, that makes sense to me at 48 because I'm telling him, I wish I knew at 25, 27 what I know now. Doesn't everybody? If I would have known at 27, starting my first church, what I know at 48, there would be a lot of differences. If I'd have known 11 years ago what I know now, it's the exact same thing President George Bush said about going into Afghanistan the second time, and they got over there, and there was nothing there. And in his autobiography, or bibliography, he said, whatever it is, he said, if I would have known that day that we went in what I knew afterwards, well, of course we wouldn't have went in. Duh! Who would have done that? Nobody would have done that. I wouldn't have done that. Everybody has that to deal with. But your best days are in front of you if you're under 50. People who are in their 30s and wishing that they were as successful as the 50-year-olds that they know. Hang on. You're not going to be that successful at 30 unless you are, inherit drug money or some type of business or whatever, big old duffel bag gets dropped off at your front porch and you just bless it. You're the cleaner. Lord Jesus, I don't know who did this, but thank you. I mean, unless you've stepped into something that, again, that's before you. You didn't do anything to deserve it. You're 30. You don't even know what you want to do with your life yet. Okay, we're not talking about like the 1%ers. We're talking about normal people at 20 and 30, and you're looking at these people in your life, in your world, and you're thinking, man, I want to be like Elon. I want to be like this. I want to be like, I wish I was Tim Cook. I wish I was up there working at Apple. And you know what? At 20, they weren't where they are. They were not at 20 where they are right now. Can you believe that your best days are ahead of you? You know more right now than you did 10 years ago. So what you know right now about what you're doing, you know more today than you did 5 years ago. So it works, people. This principle works at your secular job or inside this church. The principle stands true. Your best days are in front of you. So make sure that your focus is forward. Don't spend your whole life looking backwards, wishing I'd have done that, wishing I'd have done, if I hadn't done that, if I hadn't sold that, if I hadn't gone there, if I hadn't took that job, man, for the love of God, would you burn the bridge behind you and just let that sucker die and look forward and your focus needs to be forward. It's why you drive looking through the windshield, not in your rearview mirror. You're going to crash if you keep trying to drive with your rearview mirror. Best days are in front of you. Say, thank God. Everybody needs to be excited about that. All you young people that are wishing you had more money and wish you had a better car, I told Jeanette when she finally, bless her heart, was getting ready to buy her first car, her daddy said, this one, hey, it's not going to be your dream car. Did I not tell you that? It's not going to be your dream car. This is not going to be the Maserati. This isn't going to be the BMW or the Mercedes you eventually drive. Okay? Get you a car that gets you from point A to point B. It's not a piece of junk. It's not trash. You can afford it. But it's not going to be your Ferrari. It's going to probably be a Toyota or Mazda, a Nissan, something you can afford. And you know what? You buy that car and you drive and you be content. Yes. Did I say that? And she listened to me. And I know the pressure of wanting to get the BMW before you drove the Corolla. It's there. It's there. The pressure of wanting to, drive a Volvo because you come from a long line of people that can't drive. And you need all the protection you can get. But you can't afford a Volvo because Volvos aren't cheap. That protection has a price. Woo, I feel a preaching spirit jumping on me right now. Protection has a price. And you got to either be willing to pay it or you're going to have to settle for something less until you can't. Woo, don't ever let anybody tell you you will never afford a Volvo because it's too expensive for you. If that's what you want, you work your tail off and you get to where you buy 2 of them. You got one you drive to church and one you work in. Hello? I'm not talking prosperity, big pie in the sky trash. I'm talking about if you get this thing right and you do it God's way, God wants to bless you. God said you're the head, not the tail. You're above, not beneath. He wants to bless you. You just got to do it right, and He will. A growth environment, number 4. Is a place where the atmosphere is affirming. The atmosphere is affirming. And what I mean by that is it is encouraging. It is supportive. It is positive. Folks, we have enough discouraging people. I don't keep up with the news. There is sometimes people say, have you heard? And I'm being serious when I say, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't. Because I find myself sometimes reading through the news on my Flipboard magazine that I have on my phone. And after about 3 mass murders and father shoots his wife and his 2 kids. And this one, they beat up some woman on a subway and knocked her slap out and kicked her while she was down. They've got it on video. And here, you can watch it here. And man, about 3 or 4 of those. And I'm just like, my God, I don't want to see that. Right. Man, people are crazy. It's no wonder some people are like, yeah, I'm just going to stay home because you don't know. Right. You don't know the person walking in Chipotle. Right. Whether they just got fired. Right. And they're ready to take somebody out, and whoever's in their way is going to get some. Right. Hello? Right. You never know. And if that's all you're feasting on, negative. I want some encouraging news. I stopped following church people. Not even like church people, like the apostolic church people. I don't follow them. That way I don't have to get mad at what they don't believe anymore. They'd be like, hey, have you seen something? I don't have a clue. I don't know who's preaching what. I don't know. Are you going? No. So it ain't because I don't know who's preaching. I ain't going. I just know there's just too much. No, I want some encouragement. So I'll look at leadership stuff. It's encouraging. Right. Be better, do better, go further. Woo! I'm like, yeah. And some of y'all call me when I'm on that, yeah. I'm like, no, I ain't ruining my moment. Not happening. Leave a message. A growth environment, I got to keep on. A growth environment is a place where you are out of your comfort zone. I think y'all got the idea of number 4. Number 5, you are out of your comfort zone. Man. And I'm going to stop doing all the preliminaries on Wednesday nights because it's not fair to me. I get confused on whether that hour is actually me teaching or is that hour, when did that hour start? Because I'm trying to do an hour and be done, but it's just so good. It's too good. Anyway, it's summertime, so I can fudge a little bit, right? Okay. Now, out of your comfort zone, I want you to hear me when I say this. I'm not talking about you being out of your gift zone. Right. I'm talking about out of your comfort zone. Right. And I want to explain to you the difference tonight. If you are being stretched in an area where it is a strength, that produces development. That produces growth. The rubber band. If you're if you are being stretched in an area where you're already, it's one of my strengths, and that rubber band, that tension's putting pressure on, and you're growing and getting stronger, that's producing growth. If you are just in one of those comfort zone areas where it's not really a strength, it's just comfortable, and you're being stretched, it's kind of a weak area, it's going to produce frustration. What happens a lot of times is people want to, by passion, oh man, I have a passion for X, Y, Z. I just want to do it. There's a difference between passion and gifting. And when you try to do something because you're passionate about it, but you're not gifted for it, you will live frustrated because you never get gooder. Ever. Never. You won't. It won't matter how much you practice. If you cannot sing on pitch, you don't just learn that. There's not enough YouTube. Now, there's autocorrect, auto-tune. There's auto-tune that you can be, and when they get done with you, you sound like Mariah Carey. Of course, she don't sound that good anymore because of all the drugs she's done. But anyway, there's things that can manipulate and kind of make you seem like you're legit. But you take auto-tune away, and what you're going to hear is a train wreck, a dead cow or a dying cow. The dead cow ain't going to say nothing. But the one that's dying, I caught that. It's like, dead cow ain't going to say nothing. If the dead cow's saying something, y'all better run. That sucker got voodoo on it. You better run. You cannot just be passionate about something and pursue it if it's not a gifting and expect not to be frustrated. Right. But if it's your gifting, what do you mean by that? Well, I mean, there's assessments and things you can take. Let me make it really, 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 really easy for you. You know how you define gifting? It's what you're naturally good at. What are you naturally good at? You could do it asleep. Some of y'all, it's talking. Don't fall far from the tree on that one. It's some of you. It's just you're happy. You wake up happy. Not Natalie. Natalie does not wake up happy. She wakes up in like war mode. Like somebody's dying. You touch my toe one more time, I'll go in there singing. She'll be like, "Shut up!" I'm like, "That's my daughter." I can't even get mad at her because I'm like, "That's my girl. Shut up." If you can do it naturally, that's a gifting. Let me show you another way to know if it's a gifting or not. Difference between a gifting and a passion. If every time you do it, you're about to have a panic attack, your blood pressure goes sky high, you're about to faint, you get the shakes, you can't function, you're about to vomit, you can't sleep that night before, it's probably not a gifting. Right. Now again, I'm not talking about you being stretched in a strength. I'm talking about you want so bad to play the drums, but you can't even clap on the 2 and 4. It ain't gonna happen because you either have it or you don't. You might ever heard, boy, they just natural. You hear that? They've been doing that since they were 3. And you're like, the devil is a liar. I've been at home going, oh. I can't get that because it's not natural. Now, you can take, say, singing, and let's just say you're about a 2 or a 3. You're not like, you're not in the negatives. You're not even at 0. You're about a 2 or 3. We probably ain't going to give you a solo, ever. But, you can sort of, you might practice really, really hard, and you might become a 4. But when you're singing as a 4 with a bunch of 8s, and then there's that 1 9, and you're like, someone just shoot me right now. Like, I don't even know why I'm up here, because, like, I'll never be able to sing like that. That is just not fair. I'm just saying. You will become frustrated because you're trying to make yourself get better in an area it's just not natural for you. Now, you could sit there and you could work and you could YouTube and you could pay for lessons and you may get a little better, but you're never going to be an 8. No, let me ask you something. Why live your life absolutely frustrated, about to lose your mind because you can't be an 8 as a singer? But you are naturally good at hospitality. You think about when someone's not there. When they're having a surgery, you automatically think, I wonder if we're getting meals for them. I wonder if we got a car going to them. I wonder if anybody's checked on them. I wonder if anybody's texted them. I wonder. And you're naturally thinking, okay, they just got a baby, and let's go help clean their house. Let's go make sure their yard's cut. It's a widow, elderly woman, and she lives at home by herself. So a couple men who are good, they think like that. They go to say, we're gonna cut your grass for you, and she comes out there with a little thing of tea and water. She wants to offer you money, and you're not gonna take a dime from her because that's not how we roll, right? Now, do you understand the fulfillment you're gonna get every time you go mow her grass, and you show up with a bucket of chicken, feeding that family who's had someone die in their family, and you're taking care of, you're making sure they, versus up here about to puke and pass out because you'll never be an 8. You'll never probably ever get past a 4 or 5. This stuff works, folks. So you need to be stretched in the gift zone, the strength area. You need to be stretched there. You don't need to fight that. But getting stretched in a weak area is just going to make you miserable. Number 6, a growth environment is a place where you wake up excited. A growth environment is a place where you wake up excited. It's like Christmas morning to you every time you have the opportunity to do whatever you love and you have a passion for. To some, mowing that widow's grass would be just terror. It would be horrible. It would be just the worst day ever. It's hot. But for you, who are driven by that hospitality ministry, man, it can't get too hot for you. You would bring 4 ice buckets, sit in one on a 10-minute break, use the other one to drink and pour it on your head, while the other person's sitting in an air-conditioned car just waiting for 5 o'clock, maybe the sun to at least get halfway behind the house. But they're going to be there, bless God, until it's, but they don't like it. They're just, they leave, and all of a sudden you ride by and you're like, well, they blind? Who's cutting their grass? They missed like a whole patch. What is wrong with these people? Right? You wake up excited. You can't wait. Now again, I know work There's aspects of work that just nobody likes. But now flip it on when you're doing something for God. Flip it around to like, we have a desire to grow. We want to grow. When pastor says, hey, next year, when every leader, you start saving your money right now. And this is hypothetical. Nobody write the dates down yet. Hypothetical. You save the dates. We're going to the movement. And you're going to put skin in the game. You're going to pay your own way. I can't afford that. Okay. But you're going to miss it. And when everybody else comes back losing their mind, can't wait to get back and get started, and you're walking around going, Hypothetically, boys, don't get all upset, okay? Hypothetically, you had no problems going paintballing 4 weeks in a row. Hello? Hypothetically, you didn't mind going on 2 or 3 vacations and paying $2,000 and $3,000 a pop. You put your money where your passion is. I'm not throwing stones at anybody. I'm just teaching you a principle. If we're going to go, we're going to go. So when I say we're going, and y'all don't smile for the next 2 months, that means you're not excited. Why are you not excited? You don't want to grow. You don't want to be stretched. You don't want to be told that you have a lot to work on. Man, I love being told I have a lot to work on. It fires me up. I don't understand why. I mean, it's just pride and ego, but I'm like, tell me what I need to do. Just tell me. I've got a pen, an iPad, a recorder. I'll take notes, record you, and you can send me what I missed. But what do I need to buy? Where do I need to go? What books do I need to get? Just tell me. Whatever you tell me, I'm going to do it. Number 7, a growth environment is a place where failure is not your enemy. Failure is not your enemy. You messed up? Okay, well, fix it. It's not your enemy. Now, you can stick your head in the sand and act like you didn't mess up, and it's just going to compound, and get way bigger than it ever had to get had you just fixed it when you messed up. Get a healthy perspective of failure. A healthy perspective of failure. If there's some things that you're going to do that if you hadn't messed up, you probably ain't doing anything. The failure is not the end all. That's not the end. If you don't learn from it, it's going to be bad because you're going to keep making the same mistake till somebody finally just jerks the revelation into you or sues you. Right? Because you messed up their car because you had a pressure washer thinking you were a detailer and you took it down to the original steel that they had on the racks going, and you got it all the way. Hey man, that thing's shining. Woo! You get to buy a car. That's what you get to do. Number 8, a growth environment is a place where others are growing. I think you get the idea on that. Number 9, a growth environment is a place where people desire change. Woo, boy, this is a good one. People desire change. When you are interested in growing, change all of a sudden is not your enemy. Change is the way you get there. Okay, people who are afraid of change, and I'm not talking about, hey, we're going to demote you and you're going from, $15 an hour to $9. Good luck paying your house note. I'm not talking about something goofy like that. I'm talking about just, you need to stop doing that and you need to start doing this. Well, I don't see no problem with that. I've always done it that way. Oh, okay. Well, praise God. A growth environment is made up of people who they desire change. Like, tell me what I need to do in order to get better. Tell me what I've got to do to go further. Tell me what I need to do to accomplish more. That's what I'm talking about. You need to stop doing this, and you need to start doing that. Oh, that's it. Okay. Check that one off as completed. I'll never do that again. What happens there? You have an opportunity to grow. Versus kicking and screaming all the way out the door, mad, hitting the door, hitting your steering wheel, griping, listening to rock music on the way home so you can, whatever. Feel better about being mad, I guess. Number 10, a growth environment is a place where growth is modeled for you. A growth environment is a place where growth is modeled for you. I'm in no way, form, or fashion trying to, pin the rose on myself or, everybody look at me. But I am telling you, and I've been doing this for years, I'm not telling you to do anything that I'm not already doing. I'm not up here telling you what you need to do. Bless God, I ain't never done it before. I'm telling you, I'm doing it. Have done it. Am currently doing it. We'll be doing it in just a few weeks. And we'll continue to do it until I die or the Lord comes back. Because there's always going to be something to work on. There's always room for improvement in some area. A better growth environment, and I'm closing, will not help you much if you don't intentionally and consistently make the most of it. All of the opportunities could be there. I could host 4 leadership development sessions a month. We could have one-on-one sessions. We could go to conferences 2 a year. All of the opportunities could be there. And if you don't make the most of it, it won't matter. At least not to you. To those who buy in and do it, it's going to change their world. It's going to change their life. They're going to look back in years, and you know what they're going to be telling people who asked them, hey, what do I do to get where you've been? And they're going to repeat everything they've heard for the last 10, 15, 20 years. You need to get around great people. You need to go to great places. You need to read great books. You need to be a part of great events. They're just going to repeat everything we've been doing. You must seize every opportunity to grow and make the most of the growth environment that has been provided. Remember, that's my job. My job is to provide you, that's my responsibility, is to provide you the opportunities. It is then your job to jump on them and make the most of it. Here's 4 takeaways for you to take home in the next couple days. Read them, reread them, write them down, put them on a note card, put them in your car, put them on a Post-it note, write them on your hand. Don't write them on your forehead. And I know there's somebody in this room that's going to write it on their forehead. Probably Harrison. Takeaways. There are no shortcuts. None. How many times have you heard pastors say, you cannot circumvent the process? You can't. There's no way. Listen, you 20 and 30-year-olds, there is no way. There's no way you're going to have the wisdom of a 60-year-old. Let me tell you why. You're not 60. I mean, you can be wise for your age. And I love hearing parents, they're so much more wise than their age. They are so good. I'm like, you are really setting them up for a long fall. I mean, you can even think that, like, man, my kid's special. Don't say it. Because you are really messing your kid up. There are no shortcuts. None. What you will know when you're finally my age, sanctuary youth, sanctuary kids, and God knows that's a long time, ain't it, Hudson? My Lord, it's a long time. What you will know when you're finally my age, man, you will have really wished you'd known when you were your sister's age. She got a lot to learn, don't she? We all have a lot to learn. Don't look at these older, more successful people and think, I'm a loser. I'm never going to do anything. I'm never going to mount to anything. I'll never be able to do it. I'll never be able to do that. I'll never be able to. You're not even ready to get started yet. Your generation doesn't even know what toilet to use. Do we stand, sit, we go to the dresses or the pants? I don't know what we're doing. It never was a problem until COVID. Now all of a sudden, nobody knows what they are. Anyway, number 2, think long-term growth. Think long-term growth. Do not get all upset when you are not light years down the road at 20. When you haven't bought your first Tesla at 22, there's nothing wrong with you. Now, if you don't even have a job, know how to work, aren't doing anything but just sitting around playing PlayStation, there's a problem. And that ain't a fact of life that cannot be changed. That's a problem that must be changed. Okay, I'm not talking about that. But when you're 22 and you've been working hard and you're a good person and you love God and you're doing things the right way, but you can't afford that Tesla S series, there's nothing wrong, Plaid Edition, there's nothing wrong with you. You're 22. How many 22-year-olds do you know in person, like you know them by their name, not Mr. Beast? Like you actually know this person, and they worked all through high school. And maybe they went to college, maybe they didn't. Maybe they was an entrepreneur, maybe they was, raised up to take their dad's business or their mom's business or whatever, and they're a CEO and they're making a killing, and they're 22 and they got a Tesla. Who do you know worked through high school, lives in just an average apartment, drives a, not a Tesla. They don't drive Teslas. These people are trying to just pay for their laundry detergent so their clothes don't stink. They're just hoping they could scrounge up enough quarters under the couch to go buy Taco Bell and get gas. I said that, Mackenzie. They get gas. She said, oh my, from my gas. There's nothing wrong with you. Right. Now, when you're 52 and you've worked and you've saved your money and you've lived in an average house and you've driven an average car and you've done things the right way, you know what? You may be walking into the Tesla saying, I want the most expensive one you've got. I want to order it. And you show up to church, you're 52. You're not 22. You're 52. 30 years. It took you 30 years to find. You got to think long-term growth. Don't be putting yourself down because you're not driving a Tesla at 22. If you were, we would probably want to know what you're really doing on your job. Electrician, my honey. Hey, you a drug dealer is what you are. He's got them toolboxes like, all right, guys. Ding, 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 ding. Dinner's ready. Number 3, be teachable. Be teachable. Oh, there's so many. I'm sorry I've taken so long tonight. I just love this stuff. I could talk about this for hours. Be teachable. There are so many people who sabotage their potential because they just won't listen. They just won't listen. They will not be taught. Anybody ever try to talk to somebody and they just talk all over you? My wife's like, that's 27 years of my life right there. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about anybody ever try to explain something to somebody, but they won't even let you get, no. You're getting like syllables. I-E-I-O-U. That's the syllables. I learned that in public school. And they're just talking. You're like, okay, you need to shut up so I can tell you what I'm trying to tell you. You know what those people are? Not teachable. Teachable people use their ears. They listen. Some of y'all think I talk all the time. Y'all don't know me. Do they know me? They don't know me. I don't talk all the time. Especially if I'm getting around somebody that's ahead of me, better than me, further down the road than me, and I'm wanting to know something. Oh no. I'll ask a question, and I sit back, and I take notes. That's good right there, my God. And they're like, yeah, I know. I'm like, I'm just telling you it's good. What do you do? Teachable. Teachable. Do I know everything there is to know about pastoring? Lord have mercy. If I did, we'd be having the movement. And Maryville would be coming to Ackworth. But instead, we're going to Maryville. But I tell you what I am going to do. I'm going to get around people that I can learn from. Because at 48, I don't know everything I need to know about how to grow a church. Well, man, you're a church planter. You this, you that. Yeah. Well, that's great. I can get them started. But I'm trying to sustain it now, and I'm trying to get it to grow and not just get started. And there's a whole different animal from getting it started to watching it grow. Okay, let's take it here. I'm not trying to be, listen. Just listen. It's one thing to have the kid. The act of marriage is one thing. Oh, yeah, woo. Raising it, that's a whole other ballgame. Are you hearing me? It's one thing to birth the church, plant it. Boy, it's a whole other story when you're having to raise it and nurture it and disciple it. And when it falls and you pick it up, brush this knee off and put the Band-Aid on it and sing, yeah, it's going to be okay, little buddy. And you're making up songs as you go, and they're just like, I feel better now. And then they become teenagers and they're punks. They think they're from the Red Hood. And then they graduate, and it's like, man, they actually did it. Thank you, Jesus. And you fly away, please. And then you just wait to see what they're going to do with what they've learned. Last, keep growing. Keep growing. Just keep growing. Right. Listen, we're not going to be done with this growing stuff next week. And even if I were to swing around and start teaching on something else, and I promise you, we're going to swing it back around to growing again because we got to keep growing. We got to keep growing. Amen? Let's all stand. Thank you for sitting through that. I appreciate your attention. I could teach on this stuff all day long. My goodness gracious. I love this stuff. Have we faded out? Have we faded to black yet? For those who are here in person, you're going to hear.